Hey guys, welcome to another episode. Today we are going to look at some of my recent game pickups. So definitely one of my first pickups is Zoe, and she is a rescue dog that we just got yesterday. She's a little bit nervous, but I think she'll get used to the on-camera moments, and she's a really, really good dog. So she's going to hang out and be with me while we do these recent game pickups. In this video, we're looking at some games that I'm adding to my collection that I recently picked up, and let's take a look at all these games. Stick around, you're gonna like this. Alright guys, so the format is kind of as follows. I'm just going to go through some games. I might show some footage for the games, I might not. It just depends on what it is and what I have time to capture. I do want to do these videos pretty quick because Video Games Monthly should be coming in tomorrow, and then I have to start on that video. So let's go with our first game. First game I picked this up down in North Carolina, is Mega Man 8. Mega Man 8. This is a cool little 10th anniversary edition. I really enjoy it. A lot of people get, there's mixed reviews on it, but I think it plays great. The 2D style graphics look great, and I really enjoy it. It's classic Mega Man, run from the left to the right type of screenplay, and shoot everything in your way. There's all kinds of power-ups and all kinds of different suits as you would get in a regular Mega Man game. There's bosses, you can choose your level, normal Mega Man stuff. But I really like this game. Like I said, a lot of people have mixed reviews about it, but it's Capcom. They made great Mega Man games, and believe me, I've played worse Mega Man games than this one. And it's actually not too bad of a price. You can pick it up now. I picked my copy up for about $20. You can find it out there, and with the complete manual and everything, $20, it is worth it for a great Mega Man game. So let's move on to the next game. Next one is another PS1 game. I've been kind of getting into these PS1 games, and that is Disruptor. Disruptor is a first-person shooter. The game is kind of like a Doom clone, but it plays so well on the PS1. It plays so great on the PS1. The controls, it would work really well without the analog control. It doesn't even use the analog control, so when I'm playing it, even though I'm using a DualShock PlayStation 2 controller, it still plays so well, and it's got that cheesy full motion video cutscenes, which I'm a fan of. I love that type of stuff. There's all kinds of weapons, all kinds of power-ups for you to collect, and it's got that classic Doom style gameplay, and all in one package with the full motion video. Oh man, this game is so cool, and I picked it up for $10.19 at the Lost Ark down in North Carolina. Excellent game, excellent game. I highly recommend this. If you can get your hands on it, definitely go for it. It's a good game. Next up we've got Blaster Master Blasting Again. This is a cool version of Sunsoft's Blaster Master for the NES, which I have as well. But this is this brings the game into the 3D environment. It has a lot of loading times. I will say that, every time you move from one room to the next, you got loading time. The loading time wasn't very much of an issue. Switching between rooms didn't take very long. It's got tons of good action, tons of good enemies. It plays well. It looks really well on the PS1. Which reminds me, recently I also picked up the Pound HDMI cables for my PS2, and I always play my PS1 games on my PS2 because they're backwards compatible that way. And the Pound cables, it looks really, really good. It makes these games really stand out. So if you can get your hands on one, I paid $30 for mine, for HD quality graphics. It's not gonna be the best of the best cables, but you know what? I think it plays really well. It'll be easy for me to capture footage on. So some of the footage that I might capture for these PS1 games here will be used with that HDMI cable. And you can let me know what you think about it. Do you think it's worth it for $30 to just plug and play and hook up for your PS1 and PS2 collection? I definitely think it's worth it. It makes the games look so much better, and it's plug and play. You plug it in, and there's barely any setup for it, and it looks good. But back to Blaster Master. There's some puzzle elements in the game. It's it's fairly linear. There's kind of like an open world concept, but not it's pretty linear in what you have to do. The one problem that I did have with this game is, as I was playing it, I couldn't really find a save area, and maybe there is a save area, I don't know. Let me know in the comments section if you've played this game and you know that there's a save area or something, because I died one time and it was back to the very, very beginning, so that kind of turned me off to it. I played through it once. I got really far, actually. I was in like the later half of the second level, and then all of a sudden I died and it was back to level 1. So I don't know, maybe there are save points, maybe there's not. It does say that, advertise on the back, that there's a memory card that's required for it, but like I said, it was interesting that I had to start right back from the very beginning of the game. But it plays out really well. It has cool cutscenes and everything. Definitely recommend this. Pick this up off of eBay for $9.99, so $10 to add a PS1 game into my collection. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go for that anytime. Next, we're getting into a couple import games that I picked up mainly on my Sega Saturn. If you don't know Sega Saturn, you have your action replay cart. If you run pseudo Saturn on it, you can play Japanese import games, and there is a wealth of Japanese import games that you don't need to know a lick of Japanese in order to play. And one of those is Virtua Fighter Remix. The game is Virtua Fighter, as you would see in the arcade, kind of remix. It's got a couple characters, different game modes. This is kind of like, I guess you'd say, the definitive version of Virtua Fighter. I picked this up for like $6. Like $6. I mean, now this game sold like a dime a dozen over in Japan, and all the Virtua Fighter games aren't very expensive, but this is definitely a cool little fighter. I mean, it brought fighting games into the 3D realm, and this I can remember playing this in the arcades. I still enjoy Virtua Fighter games, and the best part is they are so cheap, man. You can find them like anywhere, and they're just so cheap. So definitely pick them up if you get a chance, especially on your Sega Saturn. Get yourself an action replay cart, and you will be good to go. Speaking of fighter games on the Sega Saturn, Japanese, once again, import, and this is King of Fighters 97. This was, I'm pretty sure, the last release of King of Fighters on the Sega Saturn. It's got that 2D Capcom style gameplay, but it's kind of different in a different sense. You got combos, you've got all kinds of characters, all kinds of goodness that is all wrapped up into this game. Once again, if you got yourself a Sega Saturn and you buy yourself a action replay cart, you will get yourself a good fighter here. I love fighting games, I love shooting games, and this is one that I was definitely looking at to pick up. I picked this up in an online auction. I got it for, I want to say like around like 14 bucks, which is pretty decent for the King of Fighters 97. You do need to make sure that when you buy the action replay card, it has the 4 megabyte capability for that RAM processor, because this game is going to need it. It is very, very good 2D graphic effects, and it needs that cartridge in order to do that. But the one that I have is called Free Saturn, and it has that capability, so I'm able to play some of these great Japanese import games. And King of Fighters, definitely should pick it up. So I was in an online auction. I followed this great page on Facebook, and there's a guy there who does an online auction of games, and not only games, game consoles. Most of it, if not all of it, is from Japan. So I was in the auction. I did pick this bad boy up, and this is the NEC PC Engine Duo. So it has a CD-ROM, it has the Super CD-ROM capabilities, and it also plays turbo chips. Only Japanese turbo chips right now, but I'm waiting on a region mod, and in possibly my next Console Doctors video, I will be opening this thing up. I have to replace all the capacitors in it because I plugged it in and I started playing it, and it was having sound issues. So, you replace the capacitors in it, and you shouldn't have any issues with the sound. I'm also waiting on a bunch of games to come in, Japanese games, United States imports. The cool thing about it is the CD-ROM, area. That is it's backwards compatible with both US releases for Turbo Duo games as well as Japanese games. So you don't have to do any modifications for the CD-ROM to play that, just for the turbo chips. And, I do have a TurboGrafx 16, but, I figured with the region mod, I might be able to sell my TurboGrafx and have an all-in-one system. We'll see how it goes. I want to wait and check it out. And you'll have to check out that video. I'll be making sure that I'm replacing the capacitors, and I'll show you how to do the mod for this console. So definitely worth checking out. And I got it complete in box. It's totally worth it in my mind. I do have to do some mods to make it work, and hopefully I can get that going. This will be the first time I mod anything like this, but it doesn't seem like too hard of a thing to mod. Definitely excited that I got this. So we'll set that here. And getting a Japanese PC Engine, you always got to get yourself a quick game. First game I got was just R-Type 2. I'm waiting for R-Type 1 to come in to complete the collection. For those of you who don't know, this is there's 8 stages essentially in R-Type for the TurboGrafx, and the Japanese version, it came out earlier, and they had to put it on 2 different discs. So I got R-Type 2. This would be the later stages. I tried it, and it's going to be those later stages. So it's extremely hard to start out with. But I'm looking forward to putting together that collection. Little known fact, possibly, is that the TurboGrafx version did compilate all of the 8 levels on one hue card. So you might want to go for that. That one is obviously a little bit more rare. You're going to pay $30, if you're lucky, $30, $40, possibly $50 for it if you want that. I went the cheaper route. I paid $14 for this one, so and then I'll end up adding the R-Type 1 to the collection and pay like $20 for that. So I went the cheaper route and went with that. So R-Type 2, definitely glad I'm adding some Japanese games into my collection for the Turbo Duo. Sega CD games. Sylphid. This game, oh man, it's such a good shooter. Some people don't really like the polygon graphics. I really enjoy collecting for my Sega CD. It's one of those consoles that I got like 2 years ago, and I've just been slowly adding games to the collection Most people know how rare the console is itself. I've heard that it's backwards compatible with Japanese games and European releases, but the CD version, the American releases, they are pretty uncommon. I found this once again at the Lost Ark down in North Carolina, and I think I paid like $25 for it. $25 is a pretty good price. This game is pretty cheap. You can collect this game for not too much money, and if I can recommend any of the Sega CD games in this video, I would definitely recommend Sylphie. This game is so good with its graphics, the storytelling, the voice acting in it. Well, not really voice acting, but the voices, the audio for the voices that are in the game are great. It has very detailed graphics, a cool upgrade system for your ship where you can choose the type of weapons that you get, and you get 3 different options that you choose for your ship, and some are going to work better in some missions, some are not. So I've been playing through it a couple times. It's a shooter, so it's going to be pretty hard, but I really enjoy this one, and if you get a chance, I would definitely pick up Sylphie, especially at the price it's going for a Sega CD game. You cannot beat this all-in-one package. You like shooters? Get Sylphie. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Next up, we're going to be switching back and forth. I'm going to keep going with the Sega CD games. I'm going to go with the Sega CD games. I got this, the Formula 1 Beyond the Limit. This game does not have very good gameplay. So I've heard, I played it once, popped it in real quick, and played it just to test and see if it worked. And from what I could tell, it moves so fast and it's hard to control. I guess that's why they call it Beyond the Limit, right? It's really pushing the limit of that Sega CD system. But I picked this up for $8. So $8 with it shipped to me. I mean, to add games to the Sega CD collection, it's definitely worth it. You got your Formula 1 racer. You've got a couple different tracks to choose from. It's a racing game. It's what you get with the racing game. I just wanted to add some more into my Sega CD collection, and so I picked it up. Next up, we talked already about the Virtua Fighter series on the Sega Saturn. Well, I picked up Virtua Fighter 2 for the Sega Saturn. Very, very inexpensive game. I got it for $11, shipped to me, and I'm always looking for games to fill out my Sega Saturn collection, my Sega CD collection. Virtua Fighter 2 was not one that I had, so I definitely had to pick it up. It's complete. It's got the whole manual. It's got 2 added characters, a couple different game modes. You've got arcade mode. You've got this tournament style where you pick 5 fighters, and the other, either the computer or another player picks 5 fighters, and you fight in a tournament style bracket. And it's a good little fighting game. It's a good arcade port, and it has everything that you would want from a good early 3D fighting game. Like I said, very cheap. You should definitely pick it up. Keeping with the Sega Saturn games, I picked up Virtua Open Tennis. I'm a fan of tennis. I do like tennis games. One thing that I find that's cool about this game is it is 4 players. So if you have which I don't have, if you have the 4-player tap for the system, you can play 4 players of tennis action. The Virtua series of games for Sega Saturn is pretty good. So I haven't played a whole lot of this game, but I like sports games. I do enjoy sports games. I know a lot of people aren't fans of sports games, and you might be turning the video off after seeing that I included this game in the list, but I like sports games, and I love the Sega series of sports, the Sega sports games. Virtua Open Tennis is a great one to add to the collection. I got this one for $8 at the Lost Ark. Again, always trying to complete those Sega Saturn collections. Anytime I can get a game for a Sega Saturn or Sega CD, I'm going to pick it up, and especially at a cheap price. Alright, and the last pickup for the Sega Saturn, this is truly a gem. I did pay $50 for it, but it's worth it on every level. Panzer Dragoon. Oh my gosh, where do I start with this game? It's been covered in a million different videos. All you have to do is search on YouTube, Panzer Dragoon. There's going to be a million different reviews out there for you about it. But the cool thing about this game is the great 3D graphics. The storytelling in the game is fantastic. This game was a launch game for the Sega Saturn, which is pretty crazy. They should have bundled this with the Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn probably would have done so much better over here. You're immersed into an on-rails shooter, and you're shooting everything down your path. You have a lock-on mechanic that you can take down the enemies with, and you've got your regular shooting mechanics. It is on rails. The graphics, I think, are great for the time, especially for a Sega Saturn launch. And if you know anything about the Panzer Dragoon series, Panzer Dragoon Saga is the holy grail of the Sega Saturn library for the North American releases. Game sells for like $600. And one day I'm hoping I can add that game to my collection. But for right now, I'm glad that I just picked up Panzer Dragoon to get myself started in the series. I do have Panzer Dragoon Orta for the Xbox, and I love that game too. It's the one that I kind of got into the Panzer Dragoon series with, and I highly recommend this game. If you can get it, please pick it up. You're going to enjoy every last minute of it. Alright, so Black Friday came around, and I had to pick up at least one game. I was buying so many other games before Black Friday that I didn't have a whole lot to spend on Black Friday. Generally, there's no deals out there for retro gamers, and if there are, please let me know, because I was looking and searching, looking for retro games, Black Friday sales, and I could not find anything. I couldn't find anything for that genre. So I did pick up one game for my Xbox One, and that is Rare Replay. You get 30 games developed by the company Rare. And what's cool about this game is it's got some stuff that has never been ported to a home console, at least to my knowledge. For example, Battletoads arcade game is in here. Oh man, like Battletoads Arcade, and it's all on one system, and then you get 30 other games. There's all kinds of them. Let me see if I can read off some of them. Attic Attack, Banjo-Kazooie, all the Banjo-Kazooie games are on here. You've got the original Battletoads for the NES. You've got Blast Corps, Cobra Triangle, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Like Conker's Bad Fur Day, that game for the Nintendo 64 goes for like $80 or $90. Well, instead of going out and picking that up and just blowing a lot of money on a game that, I don't have a lot of fun ties to, you get it right here. And the best part about this is I paid $12.50 for it shipped. So I got this actually on Cyber Monday. I didn't get this on Black Friday. I didn't even go out on Black Friday. I don't really enjoy going out on Black Friday. So I got this on Cyber Monday for $12.50. It's definitely worth it. What are other games on here? Jet Force Gemini, Jetpack, and Jetpack Refueled, which I am a big fan of after playing through a couple times. Let's see. Cameo, Elements of Power, Killer Instinct Gold, Night Lore, Lunar Jetman, Perfect Dark, the Perfect Dark series. You've got RC Pro-Am 1 and 2, Slalom, Snake Rattle and Roll, Solar Jetman. There's so many games included in this. And not only do they just include the games, and PlayStation, please take notes off of these little collections that they release. They not only include the games, but you got all kinds of in-depth footage and videos of the games and what comes and how they developed them, and concept ideas and concept art. PlayStation Classic. It's coming out here soon, and it's literally, it has none of that. Like, how could you not include that in a classic console? That is a staple. You should be including that in all your classic consoles. You know, that type of stuff is what sells those types of things, at least for people like me. I don't know, maybe you don't enjoy that stuff, but I always enjoy that stuff. This one has a cool mode where you have to unlock them, but you know, I definitely recommend that you pick this up. It's a great addition, and one of the more interesting things about it is it's only on the Xbox One. You can't get this on PS4. So this is an exclusive title to Xbox One, so definitely keep your eye out for it. The prices are down on it right now. You can find it at GameStop, I'm sure, used for dirt cheap. So go out there and get yourself a copy of Rare Replay. It's worth it, totally worth it. All right, some of these are guilty buys. I mentioned in other videos that these games, Sega Genesis games, are some of my favorite games to collect, especially complete in-box games. So the first one I'm going to show you is Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Great little puzzle game. It's kind of like columns in a sense, but it's got your total your storyline with the Sonic series. Dr. Robotnik's in there. He's not Dr. Eggman. He's Dr. Robotnik. You know, I always know him as Dr. Robotnik. I don't know what's the Eggman thing. Maybe you should leave a comment down below why they call him Dr. Eggman. I don't know. But Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is one that I've been playing a little bit. You can play against the computer, and that's always fun because it has like a little animation of the computer player that you're playing against, and as you're beating them and doing better and better against them, they're looking like they're struggling and really stressed out. 1 or 2 players. Fun little puzzle game. If you get a chance, I say you definitely pick it up. I picked this up in a lot of Sega Genesis games, so I got a whole bunch of Sega Genesis games that I need to resell, and I'm gonna bundle them with some systems over the holidays. Hopefully, I can get my new Console Doctors video up for that. But definitely recommended. You should definitely pick it up. Let's see here. Super Thunderblade. This was an arcade port. You know, a lot of people have a problem with this game, and you know, it's not the best game on the Genesis, but again, I'm trying to complete everything in my Sega Genesis collection, and this is one I didn't have. I picked this up at the Lost Ark. I did pay a little bit of extra money for it. Let me see here. I usually have a price tag on the inside. No price tag. You know, I want to say I paid like $30 for it, close to $30 for it. Not bad. You know, I just needed, it was a guilty pleasure buy for me. You know, I like Super Thunderblade. I love my Sega Genesis, so I picked it up. Tell me if that was a bad buy in the video. I imagine a lot of people don't like this game, but for me, it's all about getting those games for my Sega Genesis collection and really playing through it. Next up, we have, and this was, again, another guilty buy. These are some of the more expensive things that I bought in my collection, aside from the PC Engine Duo. But I got Herzog Zwei. Cool little mech shooter game where you have to protect your base and eliminate the other base. You can travel on foot, and you turn in from a airship, like a plane, into a mech, and you can go and shoot in all kinds of different directions. You want to eliminate the opposite team. A good little 2-player game. Very rare game, and once again, I got it complete in the box. It's great. It's been a fun little guilty buy for me. And one of my other guilty buys was Granada. Granada is a cool little shooter, tank shooter. You don't see a lot of good tank shooters like this on the Genesis, but this one was released by Renovation, and Renovation games are kind of hit or miss. But this one, I'll have you know, is a great game. You know, you got your tank shooter, you run around levels and you've got objectives. You got to destroy certain things. You face a boss at the end, which is cool. There's all kinds of great level design in this. You know, Renovation is kind of known for their choppy graphics, but I think, you know, I enjoy this one. You're going to be on like a plane with a little tank. You're on the plane's wings and you're destroying the motors to destroy it and take the plane down. All kinds of good bosses in it. Granada is not a cheap game. I did end up winning it in an eBay auction, and I think I paid about $70 for it. But, you know, it was totally worth it to get the complete inbox version of Granada. If you can get it for cheap, you're probably more than likely not going to get it for cheap, but if you can find it out there, I definitely highly recommend that you pick it up. Another one, let's see. Oh, I found this at a children's thrift store. All proceeds went to the Children's Hospital, and I donated a little bit of extra money. This one was one I was waiting for, and it is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. It's not just the regular Punch-Out game. It's Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So, if you a little background in the story, the first games were released, and they were called Mike Tyson's Punch-Out because Mike Tyson was the popular boxer at the time. But after he got into his trouble, they had to take his name off of the cartridge and start just calling it Punch-Out. So I waited for a while to get the Punch-Out series because I wanted the Mike Tyson version first. It's the original version, and it's got Mike Tyson on it. And come on, you know, at this point, we all love Mike Tyson, and it was definitely a great buy. I picked it up for $3.98, which is a great price. Great price, and the proceeds went to help some children in the hospital. So I'm happy with that. So one of the last things I bought, and I got it from that same thrift store, is this NASCAR PS2 racing wheel, and it is definitely a good buy. I ended up paying $1.98 for this. It came with the pedals and everything. It's plug and play. You plug it in, you've got yourself a racing wheel for the PlayStation 2. And growing up, I always loved playing the Need for Speed series, and this goes really well with that game. You can you know, plug in the racing wheel. You've got your pedals, and you've got all kinds of buttons on here. You've got your paddle shifters. You've got all of your buttons down here. They've got the L3 buttons since they don't have the sticks to push in the stick. You've got your L3 buttons down here. D-pad works well with the games and everything. You know, this was a great find for me. $1.98 for a racing wheel. Yeah, I'll take that any day of the week, even if I'm not going to use it. So that was definitely a great buy. Like I said, I love using it with my racing games. I plug it in, I sit back, I've got my table, I've got, you know, some music playing, and I just cruise down the road, man. It is perfect. The steering wheel is a little bit touchy. I will say it took me a little bit of time to get used to. It's not just like, you're not going to just plug it in and be drifting like you're in Tokyo or anything. You know, the slightest little movements are going to turn your car. So I will say that's the one gripe I have with it is it's very touchy. But once you get used to it, it feels great. And, you know, I've been having a lot of success in the races on the game with it, and, you know, creating new cars and getting faster and stuff. You know, it works really well, especially with those Need for Speed games. So if you ever find yourself a steering wheel out and about at a thrift shop, and I find them a lot, often at church sales or thrift shops, you know, don't be afraid to bust out $2 and offer it to them and see if they'll give it to you. You know, mine was already priced and it was marked down, so like it started at like $6.98, and then they slashed the price on it, and it was $3.98, and they slashed the price on it, and I saw it at $1.98. Like, I can't pass up on that deal. I had to pick it up. It's made by Logitech too, and like I said, it just works really well. So definitely pick one up if you can. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed my recent game pickups. Hope you enjoyed some of the footage that came along with it. I'll be releasing some more of these videos once I start to kind of get some more games here, and I'll release these videos every once and again. So be sure to comment, like, and subscribe as usual. Have a good day.